In the beginning, there was Mickey. Then came Donald and Bugs.
Pardon me.
Daffy, Betty, and Porky.
Hey, that wasn't in the script.
And Tom and Jerry, Tweety and Sylvester, and Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. But now there's a new Toon in town, and his name is Roger Rabbit. And though Roger is influenced by all the cartoon characters before him, there's one difference. This Toon lives in the world of humans.
My buddy Betty B, a sour put you'll see. But when I'm done, he'll be so gone to the doka, he will be.
How would I categorize this film? Totally new. Hopefully. Something you've never seen this before, folks.
Marker. Action!
The film is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the most highly acclaimed movie of the year. Bringing Roger and his adventures to life took more than 3 years. Combining the spirit of Hollywood's past with the technical wizardry of today, this film stands as one of the greatest cinematic achievements ever attempted.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Roger Rabbit is the first cartoon hero in a long while that has both won our hearts, captured our imaginations. In the film, I play one of the humans who gets tangled up in Roger's crazy adventure. I can honestly tell you that working with this rabbit was an adventure in itself. Roger's one special bunny. Join me as we reveal the story behind Roger Rabbit. We will journey back to our childhoods, travel to that crazy place called Toontown, where we'll visit heroes from the past and meet some of our new Toon friends. There are secrets to be told beyond these doors.
I'm here! Roger Rabbit and the Secrets of Toontown, hosted by Joanna Cassidy. Boy, did you see that? Nobody takes a wallop like Goofy.
It all began with the seemingly simple idea of making a film in which cartoon characters and humans live side by side. What it turned into was one of the largest motion picture productions ever. It took the combined effort of over 700 of the industry's most talented people to bring the film to the screen. And leading the drive was director Robert Zemeckis.
And action.
With his previous hit films, Romancing the Stone and Back to the Future, Zemeckis had proved he could handle large-scale pictures. But many had claimed that Who Framed Roger Rabbit was a film that no one could pull off.
Those are the only films worth doing, are the ones that are risky. So, I decided to spend 2 years of my life on this film because it's challenging.
To create the zany world in which Roger lives, Zemeckis looked to the past for his inspiration. For he and executive producer Steven Spielberg, the film was a tribute to the pioneers of animation who came before.
You know, I and a lot of my generation have been influenced profoundly by the films of Walt Disney, especially the films from the 30s, 40s, and right through the 50s. And I really feel that this is a movie that we're making for Walt.
As a source of inspiration for a generation of filmmakers, Walt Disney is regarded by many as the premier innovator of his day. In the 1930s and 40s, Disney made screen stars of Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and a host of other cartoon characters. It was the golden age of animation. From other studios, other cartoon greats were born. Betty Boop and Woody the Woodpecker were every bit as popular as Bogart and Bacall. Each of the studios of that period had its own unmistakable trademark. Disney Studios was known for its beautiful animation and believable characters who touched our hearts. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first animated feature-length film ever, is still as powerful and moving as when it was released 50 years ago.
He was always striving for believability. Even though these were funny little dwarfs and so forth, people came out of that theater crying and blowing their noses. A simple cartoon. And that was a believability that Walt got.
Over at Warner Brothers, the animators took a slightly different approach with their characters.
Okay, Wabbit. Now I got you. What's up, Dad? Insulting my integrity! Hey, fatso!
Of all the cartoon characters of the period, none seemed more sparked with life than those created by the animators at Warner's.
We realized that you can't make a picture about somebody you don't understand. So Davy Duck is me, and he's you, and he's everybody else. Because what you do is you go down inside yourself and find that personality and bring it to the surface and spread it out.
You're despicable.
Over at MGM, former Warner animator Tex Avery was creating some of animation's funniest cartoon shorts. Avery's trademark was outlandish physical gags. Even though these cartoon classics were made 40 and 50 years ago, they still had a profound influence on the makers of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. To create Roger, Baby Herman, and the other new Toon characters, ZEMECKIS used a recipe that called up the best from animation's past.
We always wanted the Disney technique, the beautiful Disney animation, the great Warner Brothers characterization,
Yes?
and Tex Avery humor. You know, dynamite down your pants type stuff.
Cut!
Though Roger Rabbit has much in common with his animated ancestors, there's one major difference that sets him apart. Roger lives in the real world of humans.
Wouldn't you know? Locked.
As with all great cartoon characters, Roger has a good sense of humor. But it's his human qualities that we are most attracted to.
No, don't feel guilty about me.
Whether it's comedy or pathos or fear, the idea was I wanted to give the cartoon characters true human emotion.
Tell me it's not true. Please.
Roger Rabbit behaves in a very sincere, believable way, like a Disney hero. But then he's capable of going into these sort of extreme things, crazy things. And then he'll return back into this sincere, worried rabbit.
Thanks. I needed that.
Although Roger is a very complex rabbit, his outlook on life is actually quite simple.
My philosophy is this. If you don't have a good sense of humor, you're better off dead.
But this is not just the story of a rabbit. It's the tale of a partnership between Private Detective Eddie Valiant, played by Bob Hoskins, and Roger Rabbit, a cartoon star in trouble.
Let's forget it. There's nobody here.
Is that it, or are you scared?
Please, me scared? Don't be ridiculous.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the most ultimate buddy movie that you could imagine. It's a true unity of opposites type dramatic story.
You do hate me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have yanked my ears all those times.
All right, I'm sorry I yanked your ears.
All the times you yanked my ears?
For actor Bob Hoskins, it was difficult describing to his young children who he was starring with in the movie.
What can you say to a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old? You know, I've been working with this rabbit. You see, he's about that high with ears, and they look at me as if the old man's gone loopy, you know.
Although working with Toons was a first for Hoskins, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was not the first film in which Toons and humans appeared together. In fact, the idea of combining cartoon characters and live actors is almost as old as animation itself. Of the earliest animated films, Max Fleischer's Out of the Inkwell series was one of the most popular. Fleischer's Coco the Clown was never content to stay on the artist's pad and made frequent journeys into the real world. Likewise, the artist on occasion found himself placed in the world of animation.
Now you go out to the studio and you tell them I sent you.
In 1940, Daffy Duck and Porky Pig made their first appearance in a live-action film. Warner Brothers animator and director FRIZ FRELENG achieved impressive results on an incredibly small budget.
I think the whole thing cost us $600 for live action, and the cartoon itself must have cost a couple $1,000, I guess.
Cut! Throw that guy out of here!
Throughout his career, Walt Disney experimented with combining live action and animation. In The Three Caballeros, he expanded upon the techniques that had been used in earlier efforts, while adding the elements of color, music, and dance. As the mechanics of the process were refined, more intricate interactions between the cartoon characters and the real world became possible. In Anchors Away, Jerry the Mouse succeeded at matching Hollywood legend Gene Kelly step for step.
Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
In 1964, Disney released Mary Poppins. The film went on to become the studio's biggest hit. Although this was the most extensive use of live action and animation to date, the animated sequence ran only a short 10 minutes. By comparison, in Roger Rabbit, Toons and humans share the screen for almost the entire film.
Oh, excuse me.
And where previous efforts focused on the antics of a few characters, Who Framed Roger Rabbit introduces a spectrum of new Toon personalities, among them Benny the Cat.
But I want to drive!
No, I'll drive. I'm the cat. Out of my way, pencil neck!
He's a Toon car, and he's got a mouth and a nose and two eyes, and a bad attitude.
How about those Brooklyn Dodgers? Are they bums or what?
And then there's Baby Herman.
He's kind of a prima donna. He knows he's the biggest star in the maroon cartoons, and, you know, he's a cigar-chomping, martini-drinking little guy.
The ladies mean, huh?
My problem is I got a 50-year-old lust and a 3-year-old dinky.
But of all the supporting characters, the most eye-opening is Roger's wife.
You had plenty money, 1922.
Together, Roger and Jessica Rabbit make the most unusual husband and wife team in cartoon history.
Come on, Roger, let's go home. I'll bake you a carrot cake.
Kathleen Turner is the voice of Jessica.
I think that Jessica and Roger Rabbit work so well together because they are such opposites.
Oh, honey bunny.
Oh, love cup.
To me, the fun is the contrast between the reality of her and the wimpishness of this rabbit, you know, and like, how are these two attracted to each other?
Seriously, what do you see in that guy?
He makes me laugh.
What makes the best Toon romances compelling is that in them we can see much of ourselves. There's the initial rush of young love.
It is love at first sight, is it not? No?
The tender moments of the mature relationship. And scenes of domestic bliss.
Porky Pig, shut those kids up. I'm doing the best I can, Puppeteer, dear.
As important as romantic couples are to cartoons, equally vital is a treacherous villain.
I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. Peter Pan will be blasted out of Neverland forever. I run him through. Take that.
Listen well, all of you. Before the sun sets on her 16th birthday, she shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die.
Oh, no!
In the tradition of the past, Who Framed Roger Rabbit introduces the most frightful villain a Toon has ever faced, the maniacal Judge Doom.
They're not kid gloves, Mr. Valiant.
Doom is the essence of destruction. Doom is evil. Doom is everything that is evil.
Historically, Toons such as Roger have proven to be indestructible. No human could hope to survive even the most routine day in Roger's life. Seemingly, no amount of physical abuse can do a Toon serious harm. But all that has changed, for Judge Doom has found a way to permanently do in a Toon.
Obviously, you can't hurt a Toon by throwing him off a cliff. I mean, we all know that. But since cartoons are basically made of, you know, paint and celluloid and ink, Judge Doom came up with a chemical, and it's been nicknamed the Dip.
With this mixture of turpentine and other deadly chemicals, Doom has a ghastly weapon with which he can literally melt Roger into oblivion.
There'd be nothing left but an oily paint slick. It's rough, and it's not pretty.
Oh my God, it's dead!
In the tradition of Toon heroes of the past, it's Roger Rabbit to the rescue.
Yes, it's me, my dearest. I'd love to embrace you, but first, I have to satisfy my sense of moral outrage.
Gun down, you buck-toothed fool!
That's it, Doom. We Toons may act idiotic, but we're not stupid.
Okay, wise guy. Where's the rabbit?
You mean the rabbit with the orange pants, the big floppy ears, the bug teeth, and the clodhopper feet?
Yeah.
Haven't seen him.
Bringing the story of Eddie and Roger to the screen required state-of-the-art technology. 2 films had to be shot, one in traditional live action using human actors, and the other using strictly cartoons. Oh, hi, Roger. Thanks for joining us. I was just beginning to explain how complicated it was to bring you into the picture.
Complicated? What are you joking? It was impossible. It was a horrendous thing.
Roger, may I continue?
Mm-hmm.
I think you may remember this scene, the one where you got all wet.
Oh.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. On the set, we human actors had to perform opposite thin air.
It'll look kind of like an Invisible Man movie until we put the cartoons in, and then it'll be holes. We knew that to create the illusion, the cartoon characters had to move things in the physical world.
To accomplish this goal, ZEMECKIS called on the very special talents of the puppeteer.
It's my task to supervise the 15 puppeteers that we're using to operate the different props that Roger Rabbit holds and the cartoon characters move.
Leave no stone unturned. Look, Valiant.
For the effect of a gun being held by the weasel, all it took was a spool of thread and the skilled hand of the puppeteer. To complete the illusion, special effects technicians added a mechanical arm for the more precise movements of the gun. In addition, devices were installed in the sink to simulate the thrashings of a frantic, waterlogged Roger. Lastly, Hoskins himself operated the handcuffs with slight movements of his wrist. It was this attention to detail that produced the seamless interaction between the real world and the world of animation.
Step out of line and we'll hang you and your laundry out to dry. Come on, boys. Let's spray.
They're gone.
Jeepers, Eddie, that was swell. You saved my life. How can I ever repay you?
For starters, don't ever kiss me again.
Cut. Print it, next page.
But even more crucial than the technology was the ability of Bob Hoskins to relate to his invisible co-stars as though they were actually there.
My job is to make it feel right. You know what I mean? To actually make a relationship with thin air.
Although imagining the invisible Toon characters eventually became second nature to all of us, on occasion it was necessary to enlist the aid of a rather unusual stand-in.
We had these flexi dolls built because when you're pointing the camera at nothing, it's very difficult to know, well, where's the rabbit's, have we cut the rabbit's ears off? I mean, has he got enough ear room?
But more importantly, we actors used the rubber Roger as a reference to help plot out the action and determine sight lines.
No lower than that. Right.
So I'm looking at his eyes there.
And then you just drop him the...
Just as Hoskins had to struggle with his invisible co-star, so did other actors who appeared opposite Toons. In Mary Poppins, Dick Van Dyke found shooting the penguin dance scene to be a difficult task.
There was a lot of retakes because I would be looking too high, too low, too far back, or my hand would be just a fraction of an inch off. But I was so thrilled when I finally saw that sequence. There was actually a contact, a relationship with those penguins. Little did I know I'd be totally upstaged by them.
In Invitation to the Dance, Gene Kelly's biggest problem was convincing the studio the film would work.
The studio was skeptical. I got my good friend Walt Disney to tell the studio that it could be done, and with Walt's help, we did it. Imagination plays everything. It's all in your head. It's like Columbus on an uncharted sea.
The important role imagination plays in acting with Toons was not lost on Bob Hoskins. Surprisingly, he found inspiration at home while watching his 3-year-old daughter at play.
She's got a load of these pretend characters she plays with. Just to watch her move with someone across the room. She's got that vision of that person there. Maybe she does it. Maybe we've got ghosts. I don't know.
111B, take 3.
Yeah, it's like working with a ghost that only you can see.
But Hoskins sometimes wondered just who was running the show.
If you spend 5 months dreaming up weasels and rabbits, you know, they start to get out of control.
There's no justice for Toons anymore.
Hoskins was aware that the film would be a major test of his acting ability. He was quite unprepared for the physical toll the film would take.
Cut. Let's do it again. And action. Let's try that again.
This is a killer. If this had gone on any longer, I think I'd have been in hospital.
I never told Bob what kind of physical punishment he was going to get the next day because that would just be too depressing.
Cut. Not bad. Once again, one more.
I could kill him sometimes. I planned to murder him at one point, but I couldn't get any arsenic from anywhere.
Although the film was no picnic for Hoskins, the special effects technicians had an even more difficult time developing the devices that would meld Roger into the real world.
He's handed a real glass with a real drink in it, and then he drinks it up through there, so the liquid is taken up through there like this, and it goes like that.
However, the mechanical arm's range of movement was limited to one direction. To achieve greater flexibility and a wider range of movement, new arms were developed using state-of-the-art servo-controlled motors.
This is what we developed for Baby Herman, what we call a copycat system. And whatever movement we make with our arms, this one follows the same way, you see. The beauty of the servo arm is that you can make it move all directions quickly. It looks a bit sort of crude with all these wires and motors showing, but of course when Baby Herman is drawn in by Richard Williams, all this becomes covered behind the actual cartoon, so all we'll actually see is our cigar.
I want to talk to you about the Acme murder. Hey, psst, Doll, why don't you run downstairs and get me a racing form?
Finally, a suction system was added to enable the arms to actually pick up objects in the environment. Now Zemeckis was able to bring uncanny realism to Roger's outrageous Toon lunacy.
No pain, no pain, no pain, no pain, no...
Cat.
While Hoskins became accustomed to the somewhat destructive nature of Roger's mechanical stand-ins, he was not prepared for the precarious nature of the scenes involving Benny the Cab. In staging perhaps the most unusual chase sequence in movie history, it was necessary to create the illusion of Hoskins actually riding in a cartoon vehicle.
I'm gonna blow his head off. Benny, look out for the gate!
To achieve this never-seen-before effect, a vehicle was specially built on which Hoskins rode and was later covered by the cartoon character Benny. While Hoskins had his hands full trying to deliver a performance at 40 miles an hour, Benny's real-life driver sat to the rear and maneuvered the vehicle through the oncoming traffic. With the addition of a little paint, the driver was concealed in Benny's trunk and the chase was on.
Benny, this cat's right behind us!
Not for long, Roger. Now they're right in front of us. Give me the wheel. Give me the wheel.
The cops are still on our tail!
I know the cops are on our tail. What do you think I am, Benny?
I'm gonna ram him.
Cartoons wouldn't be cartoons without at least one great chase scene that puts our hero in danger. While some cartoon heroes seem relatively invincible, others are not so fortunate and must find more creative means of escape. The possibilities are endless, and the results are spectacular chases not possible in any other kind of film. Whether played for laughs or spine-tingling thrills, the best cartoon chases always lead to an edge-of-your-seat climax. And the chase in Benny the Cab is no exception.
Jumping jibbers!
I'm just amazed. There's things being done, when we start off you think, you've got to be kidding. There's no way we're going to do that. And we do. And we do it better than we thought we were going to do.
Lay back. Action, Bob.
But the most technically grueling scene was still to come, a scene that would test the talents of technicians, animators, and actors alike. And the place? A little hole in the wall called the Ink and Paint Club.
Does anybody understand what this duck is saying?
It's a nightclub for humans, but the employees in the entertainment are all Toons. We have an octopus bartender, so he's able to do 17 things at once, do the old shaker and do the salt on the margarita glasses and wipe the bar. And we have penguin waiters, and we have Donald and Daffy doing the pre-show warm-up, which is dueling pianos.
This is the last time I work with someone with a speech impediment. This means war.
For the first time ever, Disney and Warner Brothers allowed two of their biggest stars to share the screen. To capture this unprecedented event on film, a virtual army of film craftsmen were assembled. As director Zemeckis worked out the logistics of shooting the scene with his crew, effects technicians put their equipment through the paces. The two pianos were rigged so that the keys would move in sync with the pre-recorded music. In addition, hydraulic lifters were installed to move the various panels as Donald and Daffy's antics became more frantic. And just for good measure, collapsible legs were added. At the same time, a team of puppeteers rehearsed and refined the movement of the trays that would be held by the penguin waiters.
All the sets on Roger Rabbit have been built off the ground so that we can get underneath, and this is so that we can have rods and mechanisms going up through the floor into the bar, so that the puppeteers watching television monitors can see exactly what's happening through the camera, and they can get their musical cue and their visual cue and do the actions that they're needed.
Equally important was how the actors would relate to the trays. A mime coach worked several days with the extras to help them visualize the invisible penguin waiters and to develop various routines. With the hundreds of elements involved, the process of setting up the scene proved to be long and laborious.
This set is peculiar insofar it is never still, never unlit. The lights are burning, the generators are running, to all intents and purposes, 24 hours a day.
With two crews working simultaneously, ZEMECKIS and second unit director Frank Marshall spent days preparing and rehearsing the scene. Finally, after thousands of man-hours, all the pieces were in place and Roger Rabbit's most complex scene was ready to go.
Let's shoot.
Scotch on the rocks. And I mean ice!
At the heart of Roger Rabbit is its many Toon personalities, both old and new. Breathing life into these characters required the marriage of many elements. Props, costumes, sketches, voices, and things you wouldn't even think of. For instance, sound effects. Say, Roger, give me a hand here, would you?
Ooh, how's that?
Something like that. Anyway, few people realize that it takes more than just ink and paint to bring cartoon characters to life. Performing animated voices is truly an actor's art. Roger, you're on.
I didn't know where your office was, so I asked the newsboy. He didn't know, so I asked the fireman, the greengrocer, the butcher, the baker. They didn't know. But the liquor store guy, he knew.
For the voice of Roger, ZEMECKIS chose stand-up comedian Charles Fleischer, who came up with the character's unique sound.
I don't know, man. I just saw the picture of him, and it just evolved.
It just sort of came out. I can't explain it. Some things just happen. You can't put your finger on it. Hide me, Eddie. Please. Remember, you never saw me.
And then I came up with the idea of having him go...
and having his cheeks wiggle when he talks. And that became it.
And they bought it. I couldn't believe it.
Joining the cast of Toon voices was Lou Hirsch as Baby Herman, whose deep, gravelly voice was an asset.
No! I'll be in my trailer, taking a nap! Excuse me, Toots. What I'm doing for my voice is everybody, they're always making fun of the way I talk because I have such a gravelly voice anyway. And I'm doing my imitation of everybody else imitating me. I tell you, Valiant, the whole thing stinks like yesterday's diapers.
No, I love my husband. You've got me all wrong. You don't know how hard it is being a woman looking the way I do.
For Jessica Rabbit, the filmmakers needed a voice that would match their vision of her, that of a sexy screen goddess of the 40s.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Who better than Kathleen Turner?
They gave me a kind of a sketch, you know, an idea that she'd be red hair, like, you know, sort of a Veronica Lake sort of style, and very, very, very slinky. And they said they just wanted the most sultry voice I could come up with.
I'd do anything for my husband, Mr. Valiant. Anything.
What a wife.
I guess I'm sort of attracted to vamps, and this is a very safe vamp. I mean, it's only the voice, you know? So I can't really be blamed for this one.
I want you to know I love you. I've loved you more than any woman's ever loved a rabbit.
I don't mind prolonging the execution.
Happy trails. No, thanks, Teddy. I'm trying to cut down.
In order to make it seem as if the cartoon characters were really there, Zemeckis had some of the voices on the set while the film was being shot.
You don't. I do. You don't. I do. You don't. Listen, when I say I do, that means I do. You got that?
To help Hoskins visualize Roger, Fleischer actually wore a costume that made him look a little more like a rabbit.
He was there, and he does it to such a degree, you can even smell this rabbit.
What's up, Doc?
Another famous rabbit makes a guest appearance in Roger Rabbit, along with some other famous faces from the 40s.
But I never cared to.
Mae Questel created the voice of the original Betty Boop.
Yeah, what a lucky girl. I always had a high-pitched voice. I won a contest, and bingo, I was signed that night, and it was a big thrill, and I loved doing Betty Boop. But I still got it, Eddie. Boop, boop, be-doo. Boop, boop, be-doo. Shut up! I can't stand it!
Tony Anselmo took over the voice of Donald Duck when Charlie Nash, the original voice, passed away 3 years ago.
Don, scabbaroo.
Does anybody understand what this duck is saying? This is the last time I work with someone with a speech impediment.
And the voice of some of the best-known characters, Mel Blanc.
Bad old putty cat.
Shoot him now! Shoot him now! You keep out of this. He doesn't have to shoot you now. He does so have to shoot me now.
Zemeckis took advantage of Blanc's characters throughout the film.
Oh, look, piggies.
What's up, Doc?
Many people try to impersonate me or imitate me, but there's only one person that can do it properly, and that's my son, Noel. Noel, you want to come up here and give me just a couple of lines?
Hey, what's up, Doc?
Hey, what's up, Doc? He's pretty close, don't you think?
You looking for a rabbit?
Yeah, I'm looking for a rabbit.
That's nice.
Okay.
Steve, got a new line for Mel.
The voices are recorded before the animation is done.
Over 50% of the inspiration for the animators comes from what they hear on the track. You always record the voice first, and they animate to that. Then, of course, the rest is the talent of the animator and his ability to act through his pencil. So the whole rabbit's head is out here now.
After the live-action scenes were shot, Zemeckis described to the animators how he envisioned the characters coming to life.
And the rabbit's like, doesn't want to go back in, and Hoskins is pushing him down and straining him and like just like doing like Toon squash on the top of his head. They would make little thumbnail sketches of what they wanted to do, and then 12, 14 months later, we would see the final result.
The reason it took so long is that all the animation was done by hand. No computers were used. In effect, the animators are creating a performance through their drawings of the characters' movements.
We just act with a pencil, very slowly. In fact, we ought to be able to give a better performance because we can rub it out if it's not right. If an arm's in the wrong place or you want to sigh, we can put it in.
The line drawings the animators produce are first used for what are called pencil tests. They take the live-action background and superimpose line drawings over it. This is done to make sure the animation fully covers whatever mechanical device was used, and to make sure the characters' movements and expressions are correct. From pencil tests through to completion, there was enough work to keep hundreds of animators busy for over a year. Line drawings were transferred to clear cells and painted. By the end of the film, there were tens of thousands of hand-drawn cells that required hundreds of gallons of paint. The cells are then placed in order and photographed one frame at a time. At this point, the animation begins to come to life.
Now if you had prepared 20 years ago.
This is where most live-action and animation films have stopped. But Roger Rabbit went a step further. The animation was sent to Industrial Light and Magic for a series of state-of-the-art special effects shots that add shadows and highlights, giving the characters a three-dimensional look. First, there's the plain animation. Then the live-action background is added. And then Jessica's dress is given a little sparkle.
She's married to Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. What a lucky girl.
And finally, shadows and highlights are added. Roger Rabbit presented Industrial Light and Magic with an unprecedented number of effects shots.
We're about to hit 500 finals or completed effects shots for this show. That equals the effects shots that I was involved in. You could combine Cocoon, Back to the Future, Star Trek's 1, 2, 3, and probably Empire Strikes Back. Altogether, that equals about 500 effects shots, and that's only halfway to the finish line for us on Roger.
Even though the animation is a major part of Roger Rabbit, sound plays an equally substantial role. Sound effects not only add realism to the film, but can be used as a humorous effect as well.
I'm here, baby!
The film is viewed by sound effects specialists who recreate the sounds that match the action in the film.
My buddy, very V, a sourpuss you'll see. But when I'm done, he'll leave the gun to the joker. He will be.
With the sound effects added, the voices recorded, and the final scenes painted, the biggest hurdle was yet to come. All these elements were brought together just over the Hollywood Hills in a little place called Toontown, where Eddie Valiant faces his greatest challenge, confronting the Toons on their own turf.
Even with the army of artists and technicians behind him, it came down to just one man. Eddie Valiant had to face the perils of Toontown on his own. And like those who had gone before him, there was no way to predict what was waiting for him behind the cartoon curtain.
Smile, brightness, smile. You know this whole world is a great world after all. Smile, brightness.
Ever had your head stuck in a pinball machine? I guess that would be the best description of what it's like to go into Toontown.
Hi, Eddie. Hi, Eddie. Hi, Eddie. Hi, Eddie.
Toontown comes from all of those old cartoons that you used to see where the buildings are singing and the cars are stretching and everything's happening in Toontown. That's crazy.
People don't actually like to go there because it's dangerous.
Your floor, sir. Have a good day, sir.
If it's going to be dangerous, it's really dangerous. So in other words, if you're going to fall off of a building, the building's not going to just be 10 stories high. It's going to be 27 million miles high.
Jumping without a parachute? Kinda dangerous, ain't it?
Yeah, you could get killed. You guys got a spare? Bubs does. Yeah?
Yeah, but I don't think you want it.
I do. Give it to me.
With characters like these, Eddie Valiant was lucky to make it out of Toontown alive.
Here's the spare.
Thank you. Ah, no! Ah!
The combination of humans and toons, whether in the real world or in their world, was at best an uneasy alliance. But it is also one that provides us with the universal gift of laughter.
Toons gets them every time. Do you mean to tell me that you could have taken your hand out of that cuff at any time?
No, not at any time. Only when it was funny. Come on, Eddie, where's your sense of humor?
With a healthy dose of humor, Roger Rabbit has brought cartoons back to the silver screen. And in the tradition of the past, the filmmakers have created an enduring family of characters.
Don't tell me you lost your sense of humor already.
Does this answer your question?
Cartoons allow us to see ourselves, both our strengths and our weaknesses. They allow us to laugh at those qualities that make us human. By bringing toons into our world, the makers of Roger Rabbit not only pay tribute to the rich history of cartoons, but also brighten the future of animation.
I wouldn't miss this experience for anything, because it's cinema history. It's never been done before.
Why, nobody gets a drop on Roger Rabbit.
And finally, Roger Rabbit brought back that magic time in our childhood when the idea of Toontown was as close as our own imagination.
An idea of a fantasy world just around the corner through a tunnel or... I love it. I love it. I would love to think that they're outside of L.A. under, you know, behind all those freeways, there really is this happy place.
Okay, move along. There's nothing else to see. That's all, folks. I like the sound of that. That's all, folks.